All right, we are going to discuss versions of Siebel. See, Siebel was founded in 1999, sorry, 1990 by Mr. Thomas Siebel. Okay, this is the history of that company. Okay, then in I think 1995 or 1996, they launched first product. Okay, that used to be Siebel 1 or something, I'm not sure. Okay, I mean,
Just my request, I'm not writing anything because you are listening as you're writing, that's
yeah, and you can, yeah,
I will
yes.
be completely diverted
Yeah.
only on here.
In 1995 or 1996, they launched their first product. I think it must have been Civil 1. I mean, good scientific knowledge wise, it is very important, but I have never really, nobody has ever asked me when was their first product launched. But in 1998, they had Siebel 3. Whether it was launched in that year or not, I'm not sure. But actually, I've heard of some implementations which were done which started in 1998, and they were all in Siebel 3. One of the biggest implementation was MCI. MCI, they have been using Siebel for the last 9 years. It's 1997, it's 2007 going on, right? So MCI is one company which definitely had it.
MCI stands for?
MCI is a telecom company.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what it stands for, but it is an old company. I think it filed for bankruptcy also. I don't know what is the status of that company now. But MCI is a very famous. They say AT&T is very famous. Same way MCI is very famous. But Siebel became really famous in 1999. They launched something called a Siebel 5, also called Siebel 99. Okay. It's also called Siebel 99. That's when they really became famous. Okay, and they were quite elaborate. They had Siebel call center, sales, and marketing. They launched all three. Okay, let's say so they launched all three at that time. It used to also be called as Siebel 99. The version was Siebel 5. It was a major hit. At that point it got established that Siebel is a way to make money, like consulting world. In the consulting world, I mean, I remember like TCS, Satyam, Wipro, they all started their Siebel practices because these guys, they had SAP practices. Same way they started their Siebel practices, and in those days there used to be a product called as Clarify. Okay, there used to be a product called as Clarify, and that product was the main competitor. That was number two. Eventually, Nortel bought that product, and that product became dead. Now, Clarify is no more a competitor of Siebel. There used to be a company called as before in 1995. There used to be a company called as Scopus. That used to be number one product before Siebel came. In year 1999 or somewhere around that, Siebel became number one. Okay. Siebel, people started enrolling in Siebel certifications a lot and all that stuff. And Siebel I think Siebel started a partnership with IBM at that point. So IBM became their implementation partner, which is a pretty big thing. So IBM they used to count like how many certified Siebel consultants do we have. So IBM used to have like 2,000 certified Siebel consultants, which is a lot of money, which is a lot of like these are some of the talks of the things. How many certified consultants? This is another way to look at how companies doing and things like that. So there were so many Siebel, like they used to have, like, if I remember correctly, like 2,000 Siebel consultant. Similarly, PricewaterhouseCoopers was a major partner. By the way, now PwC and IBM are same companies. Are same companies, but back then they were separate, and PwC has like 250 consultants of Siebel. So it's a pretty big number, because for every consultant they have to spend to the tune of $10,000 to train them. 250 consultants into 10,000 means $2.5 million. That's a lot of money. So they spend this much money just to start their practice. So that was the first major push that Siebel became kind of a pretty good name in the house in the consulting circles. But the problem with Siebel is it never became that popular. It is still not as popular as SAP is among Desi consultants. This is another dimension I would like to add, like Desi consultants. Desi consultants were, and Siebel 5 were quite, they became serious also about it.
They prefer this SAP.
Yeah, even now, Desi consultants, they all talk about SAP more, but nobody knows about Siebel. Actually, this is good for us. If they all start talking about it, they will all become more competitive. This is a very good market, very good field, but not everybody is in this field.
But SAP and this Siebel, they are mostly the similar products.
No, they are not similar products. Well, they are similar in the sense, but they are not similar. SAP is for back-end business processes. Siebel is for front-end business processes. Okay. The only thing is why I'm comparing is because SAP is also a lucrative skill. Siebel is also a lucrative skill. They both are lucrative. That's why I'm comparing them. You know, if there is something in which it's it's a lucrative skill, then everybody should know their name. SAP, PeopleSoft, everybody knows their name, but people do not know the name of Siebel that
But
much.
they cannot replace each other. Siebel
As-
has got
no, they
its
cannot
own
replace.
market and everything.
Yes, yes. But then today the world is changing. Siebel is launching products in their market. SAP is launching products in Siebel's market. SAP is not making only one thing, right? SAP is now trying to make hundreds of things. Siebel is making some products which are basically getting into Informatica's market, into TIBCO's market, into backend, into SAP's market. Siebel has started launching some modules which are basically nibbling on SAP's area. Okay. Similarly, now Siebel is part of Oracle. 2006, Oracle acquired Siebel. Okay, Oracle acquired Siebel. So now Oracle is Oracle and Siebel. They are both team against SAP. Okay, so we will get to that area. At this point, one of the main things you notice is only horizontals. If you note.
Sales
Siebel became a pretty successful company at this point. They became number one. They used to have 90% of the market. 90% of the CRM market. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management, as you guys already know. Okay, they were holding 90% of the market, which is quite a number. I'm sure you guys will agree.
Between clarify is there, so should we remove the clarify? You do not.
No. I'm just trying to clarify the name of a product.
Okay.
I'm just
That was competitor product.
yes. Yeah, that was a competitive product. It didn't have any market. It was number 2 though, but it didn't have any market. Nortel bought Clarify and it became like Siebel was Siebel was even still now Siebel is holding about 70 to 60% of the CRM market. Okay, so this is year 1999. Okay, in year 2000, Siebel launched a very big suite of products. They used to call it Siebel 6. Okay, then it used to also be called as 2000, Siebel 2000, and they launched main thing was verticals. Siebel launched verticals. Horizontals were already there. Siebel launched verticals also. Verticals included pharma, etc. Okay, Siebel also used to have, let me see, I do not know when e-sales and e-sellers, but like we call it customer applications, customer horizontals. There are two types of horizontals. One are employee horizontals and customer horizontals. I do not know when the customer horizontals were launched, but I'm going to write it that they used to have it in those days. At least here I'm going to write, okay? They definitely were there in those days because I myself worked on one. Okay. All right. Siebel became a very big player in the market. CRM market got defined. I would say it was a pretty big thing. Same big partners, IBM, PwC, KPMG, all TCS, Satyam, all started very big practices, you know, Wipro, everybody started very big practices. And they used to have there were so many tens of thousands of certified consultants. And basic consulting companies started, they started becoming serious too. Okay, that's I got into Siebel at this point when it was Siebel 99 going on. Okay.
What do you mean by Desi consultant means?
Desi consulting means like not a small player, you know, like a
Indians or
home style.
other,
Yeah, Indians have opened small companies, right? Like pretty much mine, you know.
Chinese also, and whosoever maybe
Yeah.
small companies.
Basically, Indian Desi consult. Indian companies have a different rhythm to it. You know, they work on different models, you know, and when they are becoming serious about something, that means the trainings will be available quite cheap, and it's very easy to get into that area and things like that. You know, much more easier than it was before. Okay, so at this point it was established that Siebel is quite, like, you know, doing quite well. They still had like more than 90%, same way, you know, they had, you know, like big market, you know, everything was like good here. In 2000, okay, one other thing is, there is another thing to be noticed about this. Siebel also has subversions. So subversion of Siebel that became very famous was 6.3. Okay, 6.0 was not, like, when people launch it, 6.0 gets launched, and 6.1, 6.2, in quick successions they will launch all these products, and 6.3 became a product which was more stable than others. 6.3 was used by Abbott Labs, by IBM, by so many other big companies. Okay, and by the way, first pharma implementation took place in Abbott Labs, and immediately all the pharmaceutical companies started absorbing Siebel. Okay, finance, all the big Merrill Lynch, they had a big Siebel implementation, and then so many other banks started their Siebel implementations, and Siebel became like quite a name in banks. E-communications, all telecom companies, they started. AT&T has a very big Siebel implementation. T-Mobile, Verizon, Sprint, everybody has a Siebel implementation, and they pretty much started around this time, 2000. You know, they started using Siebel for their CRM practices. Okay, in 2002, Siebel launched a product called as Siebel 7, which was very different from all these products. Say some of the salient features of these products were, these were all installed clients. You needed to install these clients on the you know, these. In chapter 4 you will learn what is an installed client, and was a difference between thick client, thin client, web client, things like that. But main thing was these are all installed clients. Installed clients, mainly the problem is, like, say you want to roll it out to 2000 people, you have to install it 2000 at 2000 laptops. Separately you have to install it there. If you don't install it, they cannot use Siebel. In Siebel 7 they came out with a complete web-based solution. Anybody could access it. That's the main thing. Anybody could access Siebel 7 over the web.
What is meant by thick client and thin client?
You will learn it in Siebel in chapter 4. Okay, there are so many different clients of Siebel. You learn about everyone. Main thing is, you should know that whenever you learn what is a web client, you will know that it was launched in 2002, somewhere in April. It became a mega hit, and the most famous version was 7.0.3, then 7.5.2, and then these were the main most famous versions. 7.5.2 being the most famous. This was the most famous version of Siebel. Okay, and then it used to be, there was no other name for it. It used to be called just Siebel 7. Same thing. Main thing was, same things were there. All these were there. All these were there. Vertical, same horizontals. If they kept on launching newer and newer verticals, like for power industry, for retail industry, for consumer industry, for so many other industries. That is a very important detail, but I do not know the timeline, exact timeline of all those things, but I know that they were all there. So there is nothing to worry. My whole point is, nobody's going to ask you ever all these things, but you should know these things that I'm trying to tell you. Okay? Clarify got killed. I think SAP got into this area at some point of time. I don't know when exactly. People say SAP's CRM is very old, but I do not know. I just put it here. SAP CRM started becoming visible. That's when I started hearing some people saying, hey, you know what, SAP has a CRM too, and which one would you prefer, Siebel or SAP CRM? And I was like, what is the comparison? There is another company called as Salesforce.com. It became a competitor too. Okay, it's a pretty small company, but it is considered